starting off with a brand that no doubt we all grew up with, our kids grew up with, our parents grew up with. It's a lot of fun, very colourful, and the building blocks are the centre of it. I'd like to please welcome Morten Lillelund to the stage from the Lego Group.
Thank you very much, Candice, and good morning, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here. Quite an event, huh? It's amazing what Deloitte have put together. I haven't seen my name on so many screens, I think, ever. It's impressive. And what I'm going to talk about today is some of the things that Candice already introduced. I'm going to take them sort of from a practical point of view, what we have done in the Lego Group to create exactly that unique customer experience. But before I go there, I have a little personal story I want to share with you. I have lived in many different countries with my wife and my kids, and my youngest, Lucas, was even born in England. The other day, my wife and I, we talked about, some of the uniqueness of countries, some of the similarities, but also some of the differences. And I didn't know where that conversation would really take me. And this morning I found out. I was running and really thinking about what I was going to tell you today and rehearsing a little bit as I was doing my 5K jog. And suddenly there, out in the lights, I saw a sign. It was almost like that sign we all have when we have that North Star. And the sign, I got closer and closer to the sign. And suddenly I could see what it said. It said the Swan. And of course, it was just the local pub. And then I knew I had arrived in England, that I love so much. So great to be back. And I'm really... I almost couldn't sleep last night because getting here, finally making it to this day, getting inspired by all of you, and hopefully also inspired with what we have done in the Lego Group is something that I really look forward to. So let's start with a video.
This is destined for amazing things. With just a few clicks, the learning begins. Inventions are born. Problems are solved. And lifelong talents start taking shape. Yes, this little one is destined for amazing things. This little one will rebuild the world.
There you have it, Rebuild the World. It's part of a brand campaign that the Lego Group is running right now. And you just saw our core consumer, the kids. The kids around the world are the ones that really inspire us every day to make awesome products. Products that I'm sure most of you are familiar with from your childhood, but it's much more than a children's game now. We also have a large population with families, especially during Corona. Families have got together and built Lego together, have special experiences, and also, of course, our huge base of adult fans. So we are very excited with this. Now, talking about our products, you saw the little 2x4 that is the core ingredients in most of our products. Underneath each of your chair is a little sustainable bag. And yes, you're allowed to look at it now. During my presentation, I will encourage you to assemble a duck and just show it at the end. Sorry for those of you online. I hope you can still sort of be creative with us and enjoy the creative process. I can tell you there's a lot of noise in the studio right now. And as you sort of look at your challenge here in front of you, let me just tell you a few facts about the Lego Group that you might or might not know. We are a Danish company. We are almost 90 years old. We are very proud of that. We are still on family hands. Not a lot of companies actually accomplish this. Our name consists of two words from the Danish language, leg godt. You take the first two letters, put them together, and you got Lego. It really means play well. And not to brag, because we are, as a company, quite humble. Our family is a very humble company, but we are very proud to tell that we are the #1 company with the strongest reputation in the world, 2nd year in a row. That means a lot to us, because we are dealing with kids, so we gotta be a very respectable company. Now I have a challenge for you. We talked a bit ago about the little brick, the one that goes into most of our products. I'm sure you're familiar with it. How many combinations do you think you can get from just 6 of these bricks here? Especially those of you at home, think about this. 6 bricks, how many combinations? Think it's 1 million? And by the way, if you know this, either you work in the Lego group, and then I don't want to hear it, or you are simply Einstein's brother, because this is not easy. Could it be 10 million? As much as 100 million combinations, 6 bricks? Let's have a look. Almost 1 billion combinations. Every time I say this, I'm amazed. And we had to have a very smart mathematician to actually calculate this for us. Now, let's get into the GPS that we have created in the Lego Group. We are actually a very young GPS, and I choose the term GPS, even that Candice have just told us that at least 10 years ago, many of us was not a GPS, and I totally agree with that. So we're just about 5 years old. We think we have accomplished a lot. We have 4 to 5 main captive sites around the world. We are in Monterrey in Mexico. We are in Czech Republic, Kladno. We are in Singapore. And we are in Billund, of course, where our headquarters is. And then I said 4 to 5 because we actually have one site that is rapidly growing to become our 5th site, and that's in Shanghai in China, where our business is booming right now. We need to be close to our stakeholders, so we're actually deciding on building a 5th site there. Our vision has been since the beginning to focus on end-to-end processes. We always hear this. We haven't succeeded on that yet, but it has always been our ambition. It's also been our ambition to keep up with a fast pace in the Lego Group. We are growing double digits in our revenue, something that most companies dream of. We are actually considering ourselves to be also in the fashion industry, even that our industry is the toy industry, simply because every year the Lego Group changes 60% of all our product line to be new. This really means we have to keep up a very high pace internally to keep up with that external pressure to come with the latest and greatest to the kids, especially right now where everything is digital and we offer a physical product. So we are about 450 employees in the GPS, and we have a couple of KPIs that we are very proud of that we have accomplished over the last couple of years. The first one is Net Promoter Score. That is one way that we measure ourselves to make sure that we get feedback from our stakeholders and kept to be relevant at any point in time. We just finished our annual survey. That is really just one question. Can you recommend GPS in the Lego Group to a friend or a colleague? That's the one question we ask once a year to about 500 co-workers. We have 55% that answers us that answered this year, and we ended up with 54 as the Net Promoter Score. We're very proud of that. That was up from our record last year of 41. So we have many more promoters than we have detractors. And this is something we work very diligently with. You don't just get that result, as I'm sure you would understand. We're also very proud of our employee satisfaction and engagement rate, which is 81. So even during tough times, as we all are in still with pandemics and all the challenges from the businesses, we keep up a very high motivation in the GPS, in the Lego Group, which is so important to us because that's how it all happens. Now, our journey for the center office started a couple of years ago. We did engage with Deloitte to really make sure that we have a strategy that was much more than just the basics. Our shared service center have been built with strong focus on compliance, on quality and productivity. But we wanted to take the leap into the future and really focus on the customer, on the stakeholder. So we built a strategy that consisted of a strong vision, and I'll get back to that, and then 4 strategic pillars. And underneath those 4 strategic pillars, we built strategic objectives. And then we sort of filled in initiatives, programs, projects to really make this strategy come alive. That's how we have started. And that's what I will talk about today. So it started with a vision, and our headline is Contribute to Business Growth. Our shared service center have not really focused on cost savings. We take them when we can, but it's not a top priority for us. It is to help with growth. Our vision is, with compelling engagement, our mission is to bring awesome experience by delivering expert insights and service with enhanced speed. So when we break these down, we have the 4 strategic pillars here, and this is the first one, compelling engagement. Compelling engagement has to do with our people. And we have 3 strategic objectives here. I will mention 2 of them today. The first one is about well-being. It's utmost important to us that we focus on the well-being of our people, not only in the GPS, but in the Lego Group in total. One of the things that we do right now is we have actually just launched what we call Best of Both to make sure that people are comfortable coming back to the office again. This means that we can pretty much share our time 50-50 between home and the office. We do believe it's important to come to the office. That's where the magic happens. That's where culture is created. But we also allow our people to stay at home. We have got a lot of feedback where people think that it has actually been more efficient many days to be at home instead of having to go on the road if there's a long commute, for example, and that commute stays whether there's corona or not. We also have capabilities as a key strategic objective. And this is, of course, because we talk about fast pace, we talk about the future that will demand even more from us, and especially in the GPS. One of the things we have done to help our people leaders is we have delegated the learning and development budget to the people leaders. They can choose themselves what kind of learnings, what kind of trainings their people need without asking anybody. They get an assigned budget every year. Of course, we also have centralized budgets with LinkedIn Learning and so on that everybody have access to, but we also have dedicated money that can be used by department or by stream. That's important to achieve this we call compelling engagement. Now, we know that the center office is a lot about the stakeholders, and so is the Lego Group's ambition here. That is center to everything we do now, but also in the future. It's simply to stay relevant, you gotta understand the stakeholder. You gotta move closer to the front line. We don't have the ambition to be all in the front line, but we are having the ambition to move to the central office so that we are close to the stakeholders. You already heard I talk about NPS. The 3 objectives here that we are focusing on already now, but I think will be increasingly important for the future, is personalization, accessibility, and collaboration. Personalization is a lot about understanding the stakeholder, making that stakeholder feel special. It has a lot to do with empathy as well. You simply cannot get, great stakeholder feedback unless you focus on that. It's not only about standardization. We have accomplished great standardization rates in all our processes. We're still working with some, but we cannot forget who we do this work for, and that is, of course, the stakeholders. And they want to feel special, and there's ways to do this. Accessibility is of course important. We need to be on 24/7. We have actually chosen to have all our centers in different time zones so we can offer exactly that. That's not only for our service desk that is 24/7, but it's also for accounts payable, so that we make sure that we never have a backlog. We do not have complaints when suppliers are not paid on time, because we simply can take over in one time zone when the other sleeps. Corroboration is very important as well. We have actually chosen to have all our centers co-located with the business. So we are not alone. We are with the business in Kladno in the Czech Republic. That's where we have a huge packaging facility. In Mexico, in Monterrey, we have a huge molding facility. We are right in the center of that. So we are with the business. We sort of have a great chance to understand the business. We see how busy they are every day, and we are there to fight together with them to do great things so that the builders of tomorrow, the kids, can get products under the Christmas tree right now. End to end, that was also one of the things Candice talked about, and of course that is increasingly important. We cannot stay with just part of the stream. We gotta look especially at the front end and find out what is going wrong or how can we improve this. We have actually identified 13 major digital projects to help with this. And tools like data mining is critical in our journey to actually help the business with this. Tools that the business don't have themselves today, capabilities they don't have, but that we have and that we want to continue to build in our GPS. And what this is going to be used for in the real world is faster decision making. So this is something that our stakeholders are screaming for, and when we can provide it to them, they are amazed. They don't expect that from a shared service center. They don't expect that from us, but that's what we are moving into now. And finally, our fourth strategic pillar is enhanced speed. When we do our surveys, the number one thing from a functional point of view from our stakeholders that they want now and in the future is speed. They all want speed. Speed, speed, speed. And in the GPS, we take that super seriously. And it's not only about getting the right tools in place, but we are working with a lot of the sponsors also that we have in this conference here as ServiceNow, Blackline, High Radius, and so on, to automate and get our stakeholders the speed that they need. But it's also about agility. And this has been a big change for us in the Lego Group, because we've been very used to sort of when we implement big projects, we are doing waterfall. We think that's awesome. We know exactly how to do it. We plan it, we execute it, we test it, and big bang, and here we go. That's not how we do it any longer. We are actually ready to walk away from system integrators if they don't want to do it agile. We are serious about that. I've discussed it also with Deloitte recently, and that's the way we want to continue to do it. And why is that so important to us? Well, it is, again, to stay true to our stakeholders. Stakeholders want speed. They want to see progress. They don't want to wait 2 years, and then hopefully it all comes as we planned. They want to get that value now. They want to see us making the progress, and they want to, of course, see that we can scale it later on. We also want to learn quickly. And that's something, of course, for our people. We want to test and burn and learn at the same time. And that has to do with the agile approach to process change. I talked already about automation. Integration will be critically important, especially as we move more and more away from transactional processing into getting that data to come alive and create insights. Systems have to talk to each other. That's one of the things we are working with High Radius about right now, getting those claims from the customers directly from their system into our system, instead of customers having to call and we don't know who called first and have we already got that claim in. It will be system to systems with no or very low touch. That's important. When I look ahead of time, and this is not too far away, I see 3 super important areas to focus on. It is, as you heard me talk about, the stakeholders and the employees. We gotta spend more time. We gotta move closer. Stakeholders, we gotta move so close that we can keep up with the pace that is out there in the market. For us, that's a very fast pace. And some days it can be very frustrating because you almost feel you haven't finished what you started and then another thing comes in. But that's what we have to deal with. We have to deal with tough prioritizations. You gotta have good systems for that. You gotta have great people that can prioritize the right value. Value is everything to the stakeholders. And to do that, we gotta be close enough to the stakeholders that we understand the agenda. One of the things we have done in the Lego Group in our GBS, we have hired 3 business account managers. Their full-time job is to take care of stakeholders. They are simply the glue between the business and the GPS. So when these 3 guys, and it's 1 for each region, when they are inside the GPS, they fight for the stakeholders. They set the agenda for the stakeholders that becomes our agenda in the GPS. When they're out, which is where they spend most of their time with the stakeholders, they explain how we work and what we can do for them, how we can make their life better, how we can create that speed, how we can create the value by helping, maybe analyzing their process end to end and find the value pockets that we can go after together. And employees, this is the most important thing, of course, making sure that our employees are comfortable with the pace that we're in. And we don't forget the employees, that we don't take for granted that they know or they can just sort of follow education and get to be Superman overnight. We gotta help them on the journey. I have a lot of skip meetings every year with my leader's leader. And I sit and listen most of the time just to hear what they have to say. I also make sure that they understand what's on my agenda, how I see the world. That's what I use the critical skip meetings for. And I think that's very important. Spend that extra time. We also have something we call campfires in the Lego Group. After each meeting, we often reserve 10 to 15 minutes for a campfire. A campfire is this cozy environment where you have a safe space. You can say anything to your colleagues. You build that circle of trust that a campfire have. Maybe it's something that is on your mind right now in your private life that you really want to share. An emotional state you're in. Could also be a business problem that you just want to let your colleague know you haven't fixed or that is really bugging you. We're showing our employees that we care, and that's very important. Change readiness is very obvious. I talked a lot about change here, talked a lot about the future, talked a lot about how we all need to do different stuff than we do today because the pace is so fast. It's not easy. But the more we talk about it, the better prepared we can be. And the more sort of open we are that it's not going to be right the first time, we are ready to fail, then I think we can achieve what needs to be achieved. And talking about that, you had one task from me today. You need to build a dock. Now show me your dock. That's beautiful. I'm actually amazed because it took me 5 years to build this, honestly. Can I see it? Yeah. Some of them look different, right? Not all of them looks like mine. And that's the beauty of this. That almost like building a center office. You gotta be creative. You gotta be open. You gotta try sometimes. It took me quite a while to build this. You gotta also accept that It's a different shape. Your center office will be different to my center office. It is like building Lego. And my advice would be have fun on the way. That's very important. Thanks a lot.
Great. Morten, thank you so much. And it's fantastic to hear, impressive to hear what you're doing with the central office. And I think it's really important for our audience to know that when we talk about the central office, we're not saying it replaces GBS or shared services. This is the next evolution.
Yeah.
It's the new delivery model. And speaking of impressive, what do you think of my duck?
Very impressive.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Morten.
Thank you.
Off to the studio, Morten, for some Q&A. Thank you very much.
So making his way now from the main stage, Morten is going to be shortly joining us here in the studio. For those of you joining virtually, this is your chance to join in the conversation. If you have a question for Morten or for any of our other speakers joining us here today, just click on the Join Us on Stage button and someone from our support team will greet you before broadcasting you to the screen we have on stage, and you can ask your question live with Morten. So Dorthe and I didn't want to be left out. We've been making our ducks too. We also wanted to put to the test the 1 billion possibilities. So we worked out that there are 6 bricks, and we have come up with at least 2 ways of putting our ducks together. So we were really delighted with those. And I'm also delighted to say that Morten is here now. Thank you for joining us, Morten.
Thank you.
We were both fascinated by your presentation. As a positive psychologist, I was really so pleased to hear you use employee well-being, and you use the word care a lot as well. One other thing I know is that being playful is part of what you're doing at the Lego Group. How have you managed to incorporate that into shared services?
Well, that's a great question, and this is absolutely critical to us because, first of all, we have a product that obviously is about play, and we think that is critical, and you have to play at all ages. And that's what we do. We actually, in every meeting room we have in the Lego Group and in the GBS, we have balls of Lego that we also encourage people to sit and play with as you go through a meeting. Something happens in your brain when you put the Lego bricks together. And this is one little thing that we think is actually having a big impact. And that's also sometimes take out some of the seriousness. It doesn't all have to be so serious. Sometimes you'll be in a meeting and people have suddenly built this tall tower and still listened very well, but that just sometimes break the ice as well and take some of the seriousness out of it.
So the area that I specialize in is applied neuroscience, and what you're doing there is talking about distraction, you're talking about curiosity, and mostly what you're doing is putting people into a toward state. If your brain is managing a threat state, as can come up a lot in organizational meetings, you're allowing people to be creative, to think about solutions. I know Dorthe was listening intently as well.
Ja, det var jeg. Godt at se dig her, Morten. Tak fordi du vil komme. But anyhow, let's continue in English for the purpose of having everybody with us. I also noted that you talked about experience, and what you're just calling out here, this example is a true example, I think, of also employee experience. Does that link to your stakeholder experience, your customer experience in a way?
Yeah. No, absolutely, and experience is the key to this, just as digitalization is. And with experience, we are really trying to look at the different key elements of this. And I mentioned also empathy. Empathy is such a big part of that experience. You simply cannot reach that awesome experience that we try to give our stakeholders without focusing on that. But you also have to be sensitive to, for example, time and effort. Candice talked about that. How much time do we all have to spend on, getting a supplier paid on time or getting our credit card to work? So it's very important that it's like a seamless process. So we go beyond that sort of and analyze what is it, what kind of journeys is it that our stakeholders are going through, and finding those touch points, those moments that really matters, and then we try to optimize those. Yeah.
Morten, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm going to be finding you during some of the breaks to continue this conversation.
Great.
Unfortunately, we're heading into our next plenary session now, but thank you so much for taking the time to come and spend with us and Deloitte and all of the guests here and everyone who is online as well. And thanks, daughter.